Okay. Change the view. Well, everybody knows that there is a whole uh, array of levels of energy. I mean, and so you can see this with everything. With sound, there's very low frequency sound that we can't hear, but that we can feel. There's all the frequencies we can hear from low to high, and then there are higher frequencies that dogs can hear, and others, bats, and so on. They get higher and higher. And when the frequencies get high enough, they're no longer called sound. They can't be detected by the ear, and eventually they get high enough they become seeable. And so we know there's a spectrum of light as well, the deep infrared light, and all the way up to through the visible spectrum to ultraviolet and beyond. And then there are more energetic particles than photons, that cosmic particles that move through space and so on. And so, it's very obvious that energy exists at many levels, from a very dense, heavy, slow level, all the way up to the most subtle and most dispersed, most spacious, at the finest and highest levels. And so this is true for human states of mind as well. So if we are in despair, we're psychically we're at a very, very low vibrational level. We have very low energy. If we're sad, we have a little more, but not as much as if we're say happy or excited or creative. So these various vibrational levels of energy manifest in mind states as well. So Trisha Yu, my teacher, always would say that Taiji is a mind-body practice, and Qigong is a mind-body practice. And one thing that means is that we have this consciousness, and it's up to us where we're going to put it, where we're going to focus it. And whatever we focus our consciousness on, we have the potential to raise the energy level of that subject. And so this is very, very key understanding. Because in Qigong, we're using our consciousness to raise the energy level of the mind state and the body. Okay? So when we begin our class, or when we begin a period of practice, we begin with the low, dense, heavy, grounded state, always. And this is to bring the energy down from the thinking mind down into the body, and down from the body down into the earth. And that's the beginning. And then we proceed to be aware of and to affect the presence and flow of energy in the mind-body system by using our consciousness to enliven it, to raise it. And that's one way of understanding the mind-body connection. So as we begin, we'll we'll focus our attention, that is, we'll bring more consciousness to the bottoms of our feet, maybe to our knees, to our hips, maybe this downward exhaling of the breath. And we'll use our consciousness to accent the downward, the heavy, the stable, the rooted quality of this mind-body here, this system. And so we're really kind of honoring the earth and our ancestors, the origin of life, of this life. So when we bringing our attention and just feeling the bottom of the feet, that in itself calms an agitated mind state. And just as an experiment, we've done this before, so we can now extend the consciousness through the sense of touch and down into the earth. So imagining growing roots into the ground, but more than that, feeling what it would feel like to have sensate roots down in the ground. This is more than a visualization. This is a tactile experience, dropping the consciousness down through the body, extending it down into the earth. And then as we breathe out, we drop even more. And with each out breath, we feel this deeper sense of connection to the earth through gravity and through our sense of touch. This not only grounds us, this actually enlivens the earth itself. Our consciousness enlivens the earth itself. Okay, very good. That's just standing. So now let's go to bowing to the directions. So we'll start with the east, and we'll actually bring our attention up from these roots, bring it right up the body, and dip the knees, bring it right up. The hands follow it, and then we bow to the east. Okay, and before we turn, we sort of touch into those roots again. Now we turn to the south. Exhale, you bow. And then turn to the west. And now turning to the north. And then back to the screen. And so reestablish the sensate quality of the feet and the roots, and then dip down, and then bring that up. And extend. Now extend the senses out through the fingertips, out through the top of the head. What would it feel like for the body to get a mile high, or 12 feet high, whatever? Extend way up, maybe up into the clouds. extend up, and then extend out all around. And then back down to the earth again. And then just, the ancients called this packing the chi. So we're sort of concentrating all these 6 directions into the lower dantian, the middle dantian, into the torso. And by using our hands, now we're extending our sense of touch through the hands and right into the body. So, and this enlivens the body. Okay, and then just return. And then as we return, we can, of course, there's the vertical axis, we're familiar with that. But we've also established not only the roots, but sort of the branches of the tree. The body is the trunk, the branches, the leaves, and then extending out, up and out in all directions. There's a lot of tree imagery and reference in Qigong. Okay. Okay, very good. Let's just now just let go of all of that. Now, Trembling Mountain is said to be the single most effective way of releasing stress in the body and in the mind. And it also massages the organs. And you notice your breath. Just notice if it's deep or shallow. If you do this more vigorously, your breath will become deeper. And so this brings the consciousness really into the whole body, doesn't it? There's so much tactile stimulation going on that it brings our attention, our consciousness into the whole body. The whole body's moving. So you can see how this is a body-mind practice, because the body movement is bringing the consciousness into the body. We're not off thinking about something. we're just right here. So, and this raises the energy level of the body, because the energy we would normally be using for thinking or perceiving something else is in the body. For those who like visualization, you can visualize solid things kind of flaking off or falling off, letting go, as if maybe the body was encased in ice, thin layer of ice, and by doing this, it's shattering the ice, it's dropping all around. Blockages inside the body, just solid things dissolving, falling down. There may even be sound involved with that. But that increases the benefit by engaging the mind in this. And this is just really a letting go, isn't it? It's just a releasing. Now, if there is something that comes to you that you need to release, you can do it with the breath, the out breath. Okay, well, let's increase this once we're getting to the end. Make it more intense. Okay, and then when you're ready, go ahead and stop. And there'll be an out breath. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and loosen up the neck, head and neck. And circle the shoulders however you want to. Just loosen up the upper body. Okay, and opening the stanza, let's open the chest. In breath. And we're breathing deeply now with all these big movements. And let the breath determine the speed of the movement, not the other way. So the hands are riding on the breath. As the body fills, the hands are pushed out. As the body empties, the hands come back. The hands are acting as the extended sensory perception, aren't they? So with our hands out here, we're feeling around the body. We're extending our consciousness from within the lungs and the center of the chest And now it goes out with the in-breath. We're extending it out and then concentrating it back. Now next time, next in-breath, extend it out beyond the hands, all directions. You can feel the hands and then out beyond the hands, all around. So creating kind of an oval of consciousness around the body, just awareness of this space. And you can go as far away from the body as you want. Just extend in all directions. And so these are big breaths, big expansion. Okay, let's reduce the movements. And now as the hands become still, we just continue the practice without the hands. Okay, now let's back down to standing. Okay, and let's circle the hips. So try it one way and then try it the other way. You could do this subtly if you want to. Okay, very good. And now let's do our one-legged as you like. So now really concentrating the pressure onto the one foot. Okay, very good. Now if you're rooted into the earth and you're connected up into the cosmos, you really can't fall. Okay. Okay, very good. Into standing. Now, over the years, we've done a lot of different kind of standing meditation. It can be the vertical axis, if you like that, a vertical column, It can be the tree, sort of the roots and the branches, whatever, whatever works, but we want to engage the mind with this posture. And then, whatever it is connecting earth and heaven, whatever that is, whether it's tree roots and so on, or whether it's that axis or column, it's living. It's alive. It's conscious. Energy is, it's made up of energy. Energy is flowing in it, and then we can affect the flow. So if we focus our eyes inward and down with the in-breath, we can bring our attention up the inside of the body, up to the crown of the head, and then beyond, and then out breath, down the front. So the microcosmic orbit, you can breathe in through the feet, the perineum, and then down. Or any variation of that. And since the body is full of energy, and it's connecting earth and heaven, that we can move that energy with the mind, with our attention. And you can use the eyes to help you. You can use the breath. Okay, let's take a couple more breaths. Okay, very good, very good. Well, let's do side to side now with cloud hands. Let's put the hands, palms up and down, and just enjoy this movement. The hands remain opposite the center line of the body. So this is bringing in the side, left and right, into the up and down. That's the standing is very much about up and down. And this is kind of more about all around. And you can go ahead and turn more if you want to, make this big. This always seems joyful to me. Just just this movement seems like a joyful movement. So the consciousness occupying the space all around the body. Okay, and then when you're ready, you can go ahead and continue and just flip the hands. So move in the direction of the upper hand. Palms are facing. And this can be very big, very loose. And the hands are seats of consciousness. We have a lot of sensitivity in the hands. So by extending our hands out, we're feeling outward away from the body, And we can extend with our mind, we can extend beyond the hands. Okay, very good. Let's reduce the movements a little bit. And then as we stand with the palms connected, can separate them a little bit with the breath and then let them come closer together. Okay, very good. Let's go to front to back. There are a number of movements for this, so we can do a boat rowing in the stream of air. Teacher lead. And so as we bend the waist, arms come up and then behind the body. This will pump the breath. As we collapse, we breathe out. And as we stand up, we breathe in. So the palms are behind the body and they face front. And so we're feeling the space around us and extending our consciousness behind us and in front of us. Okay, very good. Let's reduce the movements a little. In the more subtle mind states, mind-body states, the breath becomes more subtle. But in the big body movement, the breath is big, and that's good. That's what we want. Okay, let's go ahead now and do diagonal since we've done the others. So we start with cloud hands, and the lower hand is going to shoot up diagonally, and the upper hand is going to go back. And then when they come back, they switch. So we're going to wind up and kind of fling that lower hand out with the hips. Then it comes back, wind up, send that one out. And the heel can come up if you like. Now this is called diagonal flying. This is actually a Tai Chi, it's a martial arts movement, but it's also an extension of sensate awareness. We're kind of throwing it out, aren't we? Sending awareness out, even to the darkest corners. And this is actually a release too. It's a strike in Taiji, and the strike is accompanied by an out breath. So when you send that arm up, that would be an out breath. In breath is a wind up. Out breath is an extension. Let's do a couple more. Okay, very good. Then return to cloud hands. Then turn the palms inward. Okay, back to standing. Okay, let's go ahead and now pull up our stool or chair cushion. Okay, so as you relax into your posture, and just notice the breathing, the rate of breathing. You're probably, if you're like me, you're probably breathing pretty deeply now from all the movement. Now we're going to use the breath and the consciousness to move into a higher and finer and more subtle energetic state. So we'll go to breathing the stars, is very familiar. So the in-breath, the stars all rush in from all sides of the body. They rush in through the pores of the skin. And the torso, it just becomes light. And then the out breath, they rush out back to their places. And the in breath, they rush in, they fill the whole body, head, torso, leg, and the whole body just becomes light. And with the out breath, the whole body becomes dark, and space around the body is filled with the stars. When the stars rush in, space is dark. So you are the body, you are the breath, you are the one who's aware, you are also the space. So as you are aware of the body, light, getting light, becoming light, you're simultaneously aware of the surroundings becoming dark. And then as you breathe out and the body becomes dark, the surroundings become light, you're aware of both. You're not just following the light. The consciousness is bigger than the light and it's bigger than the dark. And then pretty soon the difference will evaporate. And there'll just be this field that's made up of light and dark. This energetic, luminous field that's dark and light. And this is where the breath begins to slow down. And the breath is just coming and going. It's not affecting the light and dark anymore. Just the luminous light-dark interplay. And that can be felt as tingling in the body. Okay, and now with the out breath, let's extend the limits of that field a little bit. Let's extend it out a little with each out breath in all directions. Now the in-breath isn't concentrating it, it's just a relaxation. So the out-breath, we extend in all directions. With the in-breath, we rest. How far can you extend? Now, this isn't just something in the mind. You can feel the tingling in the body. We're extending the tingling in the body out in all directions. Now, as the breath becomes more subtle, it will just extend on its own. And so this is the mind state of infinite space. This infinite space. And the Buddha taught this as the fifth jhana. It's a formless mind state. Let the breath get more subtle. And the tingling in the body is not separate from the space of consciousness all around the body. And the space all around the body is conscious. And now this is the starting point for insight meditation if you want to do that. So if you bring an object or something to focus on into this space, it will become much less dense. You will lift its vibrational level. And if nothing appears, that's fine. And just while we're here, this space has qualities. So, and these in Buddhism, these are taught as the divine abodes. So some of the qualities of this space are loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. You may feel one of those. Okay, so let's slowly move maybe toes, fingers a little bit, or mouth. Just bring the attention into the physical body. Now we're not leaving that space of expanded consciousness. It's always here. So this is not like going on vacation where we go somewhere and we have that and do that and then we come back, and it's just a memory. This is always here. This expanded space, and we can touch into it at any moment through the breath or through other ways. But we're not coming back in the sense that we're leaving someplace. This is just what's always here. We're just moving our attention now into the physical body. And move around a little if you got a little stiff there. I did. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead and clap our hands together one time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you so much for attending and for your practice. And if you would like to slip away, please do that. And if you would like to stay a little bit for conversation, please do that. Okay, some people slipped away. That's good. I like that when people do that because they're continuing their practice. They don't want to get into words, and I respect that. They're continuing their practice. But it's great that you guys are staying here too. Um, good to see you all again. It's been 3 weeks actually. But if you show up for the retreat Saturday, we'll see a lot of each other. No, any questions or comments about any of that? Okay. Well, so did that make sense that the teaching on sort of vibrational levels? I mean, it sounds a little woo-woo at first, but it's just physics, really. You know, I mean, there's energy in the world and it vibrates at different levels. And a low vibration is going to be very dense and form. It's going to be form. And a high vibration is going to be more formless. It's going to be like light or consciousness. So consciousness um, is the context in which all this vibrational activity is going on. And so when we bring our consciousness to something, it almost by definition, it raises the vibrational level of it. It has a potential to, anyway. And you know, that's sort of the basis of a lot of Qigong, a lot of healing, energetic healing practices, and a lot of insight meditation. We said if we can arrive at a state that's very open and very conscious and very clear, then whatever we think about, whatever we want to contemplate, if it's a problem or if it's a concept, whatever it might be, in the spaciousness and in that high vibration, we gain insight into it because it becomes clear rather than this dense thing. It's really useful for pain in the body, pain in the mind, trauma, uh, things that we're confused about or stuck, decisions, you know, and so on. So that's why I said when you feel that, when you're in that state, you can just rest in that state because that automatically is a healing state. It's going to be healing. It's going to be healing dense form just because it's there. You don't have to do anything. And at the same time, if you want to utilize it, you know, if you got a problem to solve, or if you then you can use it. It's useful.
Just want to, this is not news, but this practice gets me to that kind of a jhana state more reliably than just about anything else. You know, I struggle to just sitting.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a day of sitting probably or more
Mm-hmm.
for the mind to really settle. But this practice, it's like, you know, within 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a jhana retreat a number of years ago. It was an 11-day retreat. And you really can get into the jhanas in 11 days, all day. I mean, from early morning till night. Um, and you can drop into it this way too, really, really and truly. And I don't know if you want to go into the jhanas and all, but there are four form jhanas and there are four formless jhanas. And infinite space is the fifth jhana. It's the first formless jhana. And they're just different mind states. In and of themselves, they're useful to cultivate. Uh, the reason being that the cultivation of those states can bring on insight. And then what the teaching is that the insight is what leads to awakening. So the states in and of themselves are not awakened states, but they're much increasingly subtle states of being that are, I think, I find them useful to cultivate. Other people maybe don't, and that's fine.
Stephen, what about like the vibrational state of the the place you find yourself in, or the space you find yourself in? Like, how does that? How would you think about that? Like, do places and spaces and communities have a different energy level that
Oh,
affects? Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
The space around, when you say the space around you is conscious, like, does that mean the energy around you is the space around you is energy? And what do you do when you find yourself in a place that's got an energy level that, you know?
Yeah, get out if you can. Yeah, I mean, there are absolutely places that are very inspiring, and places that are very depressing. I mean, you mean spaces in the world, like a town absolutely. Go to um, go to a slaughterhouse, see what that's like, you know, and then go to a Zen center, that's had a lot of people practicing in it for a long time, and see what that's like. Absolutely true. Yeah, yeah, and
What, what do you
yeah.
what do you
But
do when you find yourself in a place like that you can't leave, let's say?
well, so this is what our inmates that we teach.
Mm.
They're in those places, and some of the places are horrible, and some are not so bad, uh, and they can't get out, and so this is just all about, we can't control what happens to us. This is what we tell them. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control our attitude toward it, or how we deal with it, how we hold it. And it's very deep. I mean, this is very much what the Buddha was teaching about the Four Noble Truths, that there is suffering, and even in the finest places, there is suffering, and we're not going to get rid of it. So we just will give that up and just find ways to be with whatever it is. So, like, let's say, you know, um, someone's very depressed, or they're very disillusioned. They're in despair. They're very alone. Um, if they can, if they know these practices, they can meditate on this or do these practices, and that will elevate their state. So then you may go from despair to awareness of despair, which may just be sadness, if that makes sense. And so that there's a way to hold these mind states that are very difficult or negative. That by being with them, then compassion arises naturally in ourself. So the way I see it is that there is suffering. Everyone understands that and knows that there is suffering. But if the suffering is unconscious, if we're just lost in it, it is of no benefit. It's just suffering. But if we can bring consciousness to it, and we're aware that we're suffering, and that we're aware suffering is universal, and that we're in it now, immediately compassion comes up. It just comes out of the air, because it's one of those divine abodes. So awareness, if we add awareness or consciousness to the object, it raises the level, and then compassion can arise. That's the gift of suffering. I mean, is that suffering can enable us to experience compassion for ourselves and for other people. And empathy, we can, if we've never suffered, we're not going to have empathy for somebody else. If we've suffered, we can have compassion for ourselves and for other people. That's what's there. So in the same with Qigong, is if we can bring consciousness to whatever it is, if it's the body, if it's the posture, if it's the movement, the meditation, if we can bring consciousness to it, it puts space around it, and we're no longer lost in it. I mean, if we're looking for a world without suffering, we're in the wrong universe, really and truly. It's just, we just as well give that up. I actually said this, I don't think, were you there last night, Todd? I think you were there last night. I quoted Mose Allison on this. Oh, the jazz musician Mose Allison. He said it so beautifully. He said, "Don't worry, nothing's going to be all right." I love that. I love that. If we can be okay with not being okay, that's the practice. If everything has to be okay and then we're all right, that's not sustainable. So that's a great quote. I mean, tell it to everybody you know. Don't worry, nothing's going to be okay. And at first they'll go, "What?" Huh? So, and then
The one night I choose to sit with Jan Shepard and the crew, I miss a quote from Mose Allison. It's no fun.
Well, Mose Allison was paraphrasing the Buddha's first noble truth. And the Buddha said, "Hey, hello, there's suffering here on this planet. It's here. What are you going to do about it? You going to run away from it? You going to wish it was gone? What are you going to do?" So, yeah, don't worry, nothing's going to be okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you Saturday morning, I hope. And 4 hours of practice. That's a lot. Even Ken Cohen, Todd, you were there when we went to that workshop in Tennessee with Ken Cohen. Even Ken Cohen only taught 2 or a little more than 2 hours at a time. He said, "Okay, now go take a break." I think he taught for 2 hours twice a day, and that was it. That was the whole thing. So I know it's a lot, and that's why I'm forgiving everyone right away for bailing out or only doing 3 hours or whatever they want. It's totally fine. But you guys can do 4 if you want to. All right. See ya. See you in a couple days. Bye-bye.